The Gospel of John, chapter 9. Imagine a life lived in darkness, where every step is uncertain, every face unknown, and every sunrise just a concept, not an experience. You've never seen colors, faces, or even your own reflection. Now imagine in one instant, your world transforms. Light floods in, shapes become clear, and you see everything for the first time. This is what happens to the man in the Gospel of John, chapter 9, who was blind from birth. But this story is not just about receiving sight. It's about recognizing who Jesus truly is and learning to see life with spiritual clarity. Now, this is a profound lesson about moving from darkness to light, both physically and spiritually. It's a story that invites us to open our eyes, not only to the reality of Jesus' power, but also to the deeper truths he offers. So, the chapter begins with a simple encounter. Jesus and his disciples come across a man who has been blind since birth. The disciples are curious, but their question reveals a common misconception of the time. Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Now, the question reflects a deeply ingrained belief that suffering is always the result of sin, either personal or ancestral, but Jesus' response changes this mindset. Jesus says, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him." And Jesus is redirecting the focus from cause to purpose here. The man's blindness isn't about assigning blame. It's an opportunity for God's work to be revealed. And this teaches us that not all suffering is punitive. Sometimes it's part of God's plan to display his power and love. In our own lives, we often try to find reasons for our struggles, thinking that they're always a result of something we did wrong. But Jesus invites us to see suffering differently, as a chance to witness his glory. It's a call to see beyond pain and discover divine purpose in the midst of it. The power of obedience and faith. So Jesus then does something unexpected. He spits on the ground, makes mud with his saliva, and applies it to the man's eyes. He tells the man, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam." The man could have doubted, questioned, or even refused, but instead he obeys without hesitation. He goes, he washes, and miraculously, he receives his sight. Now, this moment is pivotal because it emphasizes the relationship between faith and action. The blind man's healing wasn't just the result of Jesus' touch. It was the man's obedience that activated the miracle. The mud and saliva seem odd, even unclean, but faith often requires us to step out of our comfort zones and trust God's ways, even when they don't make sense to us. Now, the key point here challenges us to examine our own faith. Are we willing to take seemingly strange steps of obedience when God calls us? Sometimes breakthroughs come not just from believing, but from acting on that belief, trusting that God's instructions, however unusual, lead to his purposes. The resistance to spiritual sight. So once the man is healed, his neighbors are amazed, but skeptical. They bring him to the Pharisees, the religious leaders, who are more concerned about Jesus breaking the Sabbath than celebrating the miracle. The Pharisees interrogate the man and his parents, trying to discredit the miracle and label Jesus as a sinner for violating Sabbath laws. But they ask the man repeatedly about how he was healed, hoping to trap him in his words. The confrontation reveals that spiritual blindness is often harder to heal than physical blindness. The Pharisees are so focused on their traditions and legalism that they cannot recognize Jesus' work. They see with their eyes, but are blind with their hearts. Jesus, in addressing them later, emphasizes this irony. He says, "For judgment I have come into this world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind." Now, this moment is a warning for us to be open to God's work, even when it doesn't align with our own expectations. You see, spiritual sight requires humility, a willingness to acknowledge that we might not have all the answers, and an openness to God's surprising ways. The man's bold testimony. So throughout the chapter, the healed man becomes increasingly bold. At first, he simply recounts the facts of his healing. When questioned further by the Pharisees, he makes a profound declaration. He says, "One thing I do know, I was blind, but now I see." And this statement is simple yet powerful. It's the heart of his testimony. His testimony grows stronger, however, in the face of opposition. When the Pharisees continue to challenge him, he boldly says, "If this man were not from God, he could do nothing." So his confidence in Jesus grows as he experiences the truth personally, moving from physical healing to spiritual revelation. His transformation reflects the power of a personal encounter with Christ and reminds us that our stories matter. Even if we don't have all the theological answers, we can still share our experiences, how Jesus has opened our eyes, brought us from the darkness to light, and changed our lives. Jesus as the light of the world. So, at the end of this chapter, Jesus finds the healed man again and asks him, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" When the man responds with openness, "Who is he, sir? Tell me, so that I may believe in him." Jesus reveals himself as the one who healed him. The man then declares, "Lord, I believe," and worships Jesus. So Jesus declares, "I am the light of the world," highlighting his mission to bring light to both physical and spiritual darkness. The chapter closes with Jesus challenging the Pharisees about their spiritual blindness, making it clear that true sight comes not from physical vision, but from recognizing him as the light of life. So think about this. The Gospel of John, chapter 9, is more than a story about a blind man receiving sight. It's about how we all need Jesus to open our eyes that might be physically functional, but spiritually blind. The story compels us to ask a personal question. Are we truly seeing? Are we willing to let God use our struggles to reveal his glory? Are we open to his ways even when they challenge our beliefs? And the man's simple testimony echoes through the ages. "I was blind, but now I see." Let this chapter inspire us to seek Jesus' light, to embrace the purpose behind our challenges, and to have the courage to testify about what God has done in our lives. May we never forget that Jesus came to bring light to every corner of our hearts, opening our eyes to see his love, grace, and truth. And as we journey through life, let's be like the healed man, bold but humble, and filled with gratitude for the light we have received. This is beautiful, isn't it? So friends, I always look forward to seeing you every day. Tomorrow I'll be back to discuss with you the Gospel of John, chapter 10. And I just can't wait to see you. This is my favorite part of my day. Have a beautiful day, friends. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.